So, my anniversary date of my miscarriage is coming up, and I've been thinking a lot about it. And not even just the miscarriage, but just giving birth in general. And I planned on waiting because right now didn't feel like the right time, but here I am. So I guess if I don't have enough time to talk about it all, I'll just say more later. I don't know. But I feel like if I don't talk now, then I just won't talk about it. And I don't want to not talk about it because it was a big thing for me. All three. The differences, the similarities, the physical pain, the emotional pain, it's all a lot. And it's even more intense when trauma's involved. And I guess for you to understand all three of them and the impact, you have to understand each one individually. So the miscarriage, I don't know if it would have been any easier if I had been farther along. That's one of those things where I think people try to get into almost competitions of who has it worse. And I mean, come on, a loss is a loss. If you have a child and that child is taken from you against your choice, and obviously you'll understand that choice is relative. I found out about Brevin immediately. I was one of those who purposely got pregnant. And what I mean is I didn't have an oops. I did not accidentally get pregnant with Brevin. I was intentional. And I knew immediately. As soon as I took the test, I knew it was going to be positive, and it was. And a couple weeks, I think I was probably about eight weeks. It was many years ago, but I believe 8 weeks. I went to one of those malls and it was one of those 5D. Now, I understand at 8 weeks you're not going to see anything, but I can remember them taking a photo. The only photo I'd ever have of Brevin. And I remember joking that he looked like a little ghost. And she told me, it's just too early for the heartbeat. So, you can come back later and all that. Okay. And I remember there being this feeling inside of the baby ghost just feeling eerie for me to say. But I looked at that photo every single day and I spoke to Brevin and I walked around the mall so sure. I was so sure that Brevin would be healthy and happy and born in September. Now, I had a child born in August, so I thought, okay, birthday's close. Then one day I started spotting, and I had a history with spotting and it being due to a RH incompatibility or something like that, and I had to take a med with my oldest, get a little shot, and then I was fine. So I went to the ER expecting it's that again, and they did an ultrasound. So at this point, I was about 9 weeks, and I didn't take my husband. I didn't take anybody. I was there alone because, I can handle it. I got it. I don't want to bother anybody. What I wasn't expecting was them to very briefly, very matter of fact, to tell me there's no heartbeat. Okay. And I remember my husband called because he couldn't get a hold of me, and obviously he was concerned. And I just told him I'm okay. Just they're discharging me. I'm gonna head home. And then I realized I didn't I didn't know how to get home. I rode the bus, and I didn't know if I could ride the bus home. And I could feel underneath there was grief and there was heartache, but I couldn't show it yet because I was in an ER and I didn't know any of these people, and I just found out my baby didn't have a heartbeat. And I didn't know, had there been a heartbeat between the ultrasound before and the ultrasound now? Was there never a heartbeat? Did Brevin count as existing if there was no heartbeat? Because Brevin existed to me. Brevin was real to me. That was a lot. So I ended up calling my mom, who said that her boyfriend at the time would come pick me up. And so he picked me up and drove me home. And obviously there was silence. I mean, what am I going to talk to him about? And I only had called my mom because, I mean, who else was I going to call? And also, she had had her own miscarriage years prior. So I figured if anybody understood, it'd be her, right? So the boyfriend dropped me off, and I remember standing outside the front door of my apartment and knowing that Kevin was on the inside. And there was this feeling of both wanting to rush inside so that he could hold me. But then there was the realization that once I walked in, I would need to tell him why I was falling apart. I mean, he was the father, obviously. He needs to know too. And I will never forget how that, I mean, I love that man more than life itself. And I'm about to tell him that his child's inside of me without a heartbeat. And that's what I mean. That moment, it doesn't matter if that man has known about that baby for a couple weeks, if that baby is about to be born, or if he's had that baby for months outside of the womb. That is still a father that I am about to tell has lost his child. I opened the front door and I was so sure I would have to tell him, and it turns out he's not stupid. He guessed. Why else would your pregnant wife be crying as she walks in the door, purposely not telling you how the ER trip went? So I walked in and he immediately put his arms around me and held me, and I fell apart. And so after I had collected myself, obviously he wanted to know the details of what needs to happen next. He'd never experienced a miscarriage. He didn't know, how does it come out? Like, what are you going to be in pain? Do you have to go to the hospital? So unfortunately, I didn't have a whole lot of information to give him because they had told me that my baby had no heartbeat, and they said, come back if you don't get rid of it, as they put it. But I didn't, I didn't know what to do. And that's, I guess, why I'm sharing this, because the other two birth stories have their own, but it's hard to experience a miscarriage when nobody walks you through it. I was told that I was okay to expel it, but I didn't even know what that meant. So that was a Friday, and I figured out what that meant Sunday. I'll be honest with you, I don't remember if it was Saturday night into Sunday morning or Sunday night into Monday morning. I just know that there was a night where I laid on the couch and sobbed in agony. My heart hurt so bad I thought I was dying. And my stomach hurt so bad. The worst cramps. Obviously, I connected the dots. I can't imagine if I had not had any children and this was the very first time being pregnant, because the only thing that got me through was knowing that this was the labor process, that this wasn't just my stomach hurts really bad and it's all for nothing. I knew that something was happening. Well, eventually, Brevin came out of my body, and I took a photo, and it's so odd because I have two photos, and one of them is just a baby ghost, and then one of them, if you didn't know what it was, you wouldn't know what it was. But I knew what it was. And I ended up throwing the pad that Brevin was on into the trash. And I'm specifically telling you that because I need you to imagine what that would feel like. Imagine your child exiting your body and you throwing it in the trash. Not because your baby deserves to be in the trash, but because I couldn't decide what was worse, pouring my child down the toilet like he's a goldfish or throwing him in the trash like he's disposable. I probably could have taken him and put him in a box, and I obviously now I would be able to do a lot more with it, and I probably would have put him into some sort of plant. But at the time, the living situation we were in, we ended up leaving our house shortly after that from just not being able to be there anymore. So I know in my heart that I did what was best. He was a child to me, but not to anybody else. I understand that, but it killed me, and it's something that I struggle with even to this day, because in my heart I threw my baby in the trash and there was nothing I could do about it, but I didn't know what to do. Nobody told me what to do. And it's not like I went around showing everybody the picture, either one, but definitely that picture. I didn't show people it. I did show my husband, and I remember there was a time I showed my mom, and she didn't ask, and I understand she didn't ask, and we were sitting in a car, so it was a weird situation, but I can remember showing it to her, and her just kind of, you can't see me, but just imagine her sitting in the driver's seat and me in the passenger, and I show her my phone, and she looks at it, one arm leaning on the center divider. She looks at it for no more than 2 seconds and goes, "Yep, that's a miscarriage," and then just started the car and started driving. And I went, "Yeah, I know, Brevin." But she didn't like the name Brevin. And Brevin, if Brevin had lived, Brevin's name would not have been Brevin. But obviously with there not being a heartbeat and not being much known about this baby, we didn't actually know if it was a boy or a girl. And now I think it was a girl. I think that Brevin's name would have been Emily, and I think Brevin would have been a girl. At the moment that we were talking about names, my husband and I were sitting in a mall, our favorite mall. A place we felt very safe and comfortable, and the same mall we had walked around with our oldest. And I remember sitting across from him and going, "I want to come up with a name, and I want it to be Brevin." And I mean, that man would have done anything to help my heart hurt a little less. So he agreed. Now that was big for him, because in high school we had just started dating, and he gave me a teddy bear, and I named the teddy bear Brevin. And the joke was, when we grow up, we'll name our first child Brevin, for my name at the time, and then Kevin. Put it together, Brevin. Even my name now would still work for the Brevin. So I thought it was genius. Kevin hated the name. And he said the kids would make fun of this kid if we named it Brevin. So now we're sitting in a mall, a food court in the mall, talking about miscarriage baby names. And he goes, we can name him Brevin. And I will always be thankful for him not fighting that name, because the name didn't matter. But if he had acknowledged that he also thought it was probably a girl and that my one chance at Emily was probably gone, I wouldn't probably not have survived it that day. So he said, yes, we can name this baby Brevin. And then he worked with we had a tattoo artist friend who was wonderful and has done most of our tattoos up until this point, short of the ones that my husband has done. And so I was a mess, and he talked with a friend. And I mean, I want to say that if I passed Brevin on Sunday, I want to say Monday or Tuesday, like it was pretty quick. He got his friend to give us tattoos in memory, like almost as quickly as we had come up with the name. I said I needed something physical because remember, I had the 2 pictures, one of which I couldn't even show anybody. The second, which the next question was always, well, how far along were you? And I would say 9 weeks, and they'd go, oh, so you hadn't even felt anything. There was no progress. It was just 9 weeks. Within a month, I was trying to get pregnant again, and that wasn't smart. It wasn't healthy for me. I know that, but at the same time, I'll never regret doing what I did because that gave me my youngest. And that makes miscarriage even harder, is when you have a rainbow baby. Because how do you sit there and go, I wish I'd never gotten my rainbow, but at the same time, how do you say, I'm glad I lost the one I did, so I got the one I got, right? That's hard. That's a lot, and none of it's wrong. If you're listening to this and you have a story like that involves miscarriage and a rainbow, you're not wrong in feeling conflicted. I am a mother to 3 souls. I don't care if Brevin ever had a heartbeat. And I know that there's some who have an opinion on the whole heartbeat thing, and I debate it with yourself. One way or the other. That's, you believe what you need to believe. Just like miscarriages, some people don't believe that they end up in the afterlife, and some people believe that they do. And when it comes to miscarriage, when it comes to grief, when it comes to loss, you believe what you need to believe. Brevin is my child. Brevin is my husband's child. We get to decide. It's between me, Kevin, and Brevin. You know, whether Brevin had a heartbeat, whether Brevin existed in other people's minds or not, he exists in this family. You could ask my children. They know about Brevin, aware that somebody came before him. He knows Brevin came before him. If we have a ladybug that will show up and we will joke, hey Brevin, that is what helps us. That is what helped me. Brevin had to live. He had to exist, because I can't imagine knowing I am pregnant with a soul and then just pretending like Brevin never existed. I couldn't have survived that back then. I couldn't have kept going. And especially once I got pregnant again, I was shaking the entire 9th week because I started bleeding again. And that did end up being okay. He was born. It was just the shot. But as soon as I saw that blood, I was sure that I was losing another one. And I replayed it all. And when I talk about that story, I will explain. But that was also scary in its own way. And I believe, even knowing that I wouldn't go back, I wouldn't change anything, I still am aware that having a miscarriage in February and then finding out you are pregnant in March, April, I don't remember exactly when I found out, but within 2 months, I know that because I can remember getting still one of those baby center weekly updates, but for the wrong child. I was, let's say, 4 or 5 weeks, probably 4 weeks, because I don't think I knew I was pregnant yet, but I got it was something like your 19th week. I don't remember it all, but point is, I got a baby center your whatever week because I had never told them I miscarried. So they still thought I was pregnant. And I had planned when I got pregnant again, I would just update it. And I hadn't done that yet. So I told my mom that I was still hurt by the updates. And she told me, then that means that you don't need to get pregnant again because you might just lose it too. Well, I didn't listen and I still got pregnant pregnant. So in some ways, I think that contributed to the postpartum depression I faced after, mixed with the pregnancy that I had. But I also think that if I hadn't gotten pregnant with my youngest, then I would have just been consumed by the what ifs. Like, I could have been something I held on to for years, even into actually having more children. I would have always been scared of the what ifs. And the way I did it, I just kind of got pregnant again. And the tough thing is that I didn't know when I got pregnant again that would be my last pregnancy and that would be the last time I gave birth. I had a child, and just doing it all so close, I don't know. I don't know what would have been the right answer, to have waited or to have had my rainbow. And I know I'm blessed saying that, because there's some people who they don't get their rainbow for years. That's why it's hard to say, well, I coulda, shoulda, woulda. No, I did what I did. From my oldest to my youngest, I have 3 children. Just 2 of them are on earth, and 1 of them isn't. But unfortunately, we know that can change at any moment. And that's why it's hard to say I only have 2 children, because 1 of them just wasn't good enough. Like, no, I have 3 children, and I'm blessed that 2 of them are still on earth. And I hope I get to keep them on earth for as long as I live, because I love all my children so very much. And the moment that I know that they exist is the moment that I am their mother. I have a incredible soulmate who is an absolutely wonderful father. He is a father to 3 children. You will never hear him say, well, Brevin might be a girl, might be a boy. I only like him if he's a boy. No, he would tell you the exact same thing as me. He has 3 children. 2 of them are on earth. 1 of them is with our ancestors in heaven. They're taking care of Brevin until we can get up there. It's as simple as that. Brevin gets a birth story, even if his birth story is quite short. The reason for that is because I was the one who birthed him. And I'll tell you, it doesn't matter whether he is 8 pounds, 8 ounces, or even less than that. I saw him with my own eyes in the form that he left my body in. And I have lived him. I don't know how else to say that. I have lived him through me since. He would be, depending how you look at it, February or September, he would be turning 9 years old this year. 9 years. It no longer matters what he looked like when he came out. It no longer matters because he's still my child. And if he is a girl, he was a girl, I find out Brevin's a girl, nothing would change. Brevin is my child, whether Brevin is he or she, because I remember what it felt like to lay on that couch and be so scared and be giving birth all alone. And the only thing in my focus, in my heart, is that Brevin knew for even the short time that my body held him, that I loved him and that I would never forget about my child. There's not some quota that you have to hit to be good enough. In the midst of chaos and toxic cycles I was still in, looking back, I want to hold myself so tightly and give her a great big hug, because that was such a horrible night and so much pain. I couldn't even speak to ask for help. And then when I gave birth, I just kept going. That's such an unbelievable amount of power and strength for a woman to be able to do that. For a man to go, I am falling apart too, but I'm still here. Show me the picture. I want to see. Show me the pad. I want to see. To have somebody in that with you is incredible. And there's no right answers when it comes to miscarriage. So maybe listening to this will help you realize that maybe you did what you did with what you could. And if you had to dispose of your miscarriage in a way that maybe hurts your heart, to remember you're not meant to live a life of shame and heartache. I know you didn't do something malicious. This is not the same as those news stories where somebody sticks their baby in a trash can in an ER and then they go to jail. That is not what happened. I know that, and you know that. If I could go back to that bathroom right now and dig him out of the trash, you best believe I would. I would go put him in the most brilliant plant and he would live, but I didn't. I didn't, but I mention his name any chance I get. I carry him around on my hand on a ring that I bought in his honor, and I share moments like this, stories like this, because to my children, Brevin is their brother. Brevin is important, and Brevin has a birth story just like them. It just sounds a little different, and that's okay.